an awesome weekend and got to get some rest over your Sunday and your Saturday. Just really had a good time. But now we're back to the week and I am out at our blackberry patch. We have been so incredibly blessed because these are growing here wildly. But everything behind me here, it goes to my right, it goes way down to my left, are blackberries. We also have some random bushes all along the property, around the fence lines and the borders and things like that. So we've been doing a ton of harvesting. We've been eating a bunch along the way, of course, because they are so incredibly tasty. But we're getting a good stock of them here. As you can see, if you can see way back there, our Tupperware bin is nice and full. So I want to make some blackberry jam. I'm really, really excited about doing this. We still have a ton of berries coming in, so we'll continue to harvest them, and when we get another stock, I'll see if I want to do another jam with them or if I want to do something else. But for now, we're going to use these to make a jam. It's a rainy day today, so I'm going to try to do this quickly before it starts raining, and also the bugs are really bad out here today because of the weather that we're having. But I'm going to go through and see if I can harvest what I can get out of here. Unfortunately, we are missing out on some of the berries because blackberries are a very aggressive, angry berry. They get you real good, and we've got some good blackberries that are a little bit too far out of reach to not get totally stuck in those prickers. But I'm going to see if I can get a couple more of the ripe ones before we go head into the kitchen and get started. You guys can see him. I've got a hummingbird right there, that little white dot. I wonder if he's got a nest nearby because I scared him out of the bushes. Oh, there he goes. Taking off into the woods. I scared him out of the bushes when I was getting the berries. So we were able to get a couple more blackberries in there. Looking beautiful. And as you can see, I did pick some of them that are just underripe because that's what's going to have more of the natural pectin in it, so that we hopefully don't have to add any pectin to this. And we rinsed these in our nice cold water in a strainer and made sure there's no leaves or debris, and measured them out. We've got about 4 cups here. And then I'm going to go ahead and weigh them on our scale and see how many we have. Right, so we have just under 1.5 pounds. We've got 1.47 pounds. Awesome, guys. Alright, so our pan is not being heated yet. I'm just going to slowly start adding these into it, a little layer at a time. And I'm not going to mash them. I'm just going to give them a little squish to get them started. I'm not going to make a pulp out of them. Rest. Alright, now you always have to add a little bit of water to your pan. Things like blackberries do not take that much water. I'm just going to add a little bit in the bottom of the pan. See where it looks good here. Bring it up to about the top of it, so we don't want our berries to burn, and we want to leave room for evaporation. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn my oven on, or not my oven, my stovetop, excuse me, on right between medium and low heat, and let this start simmering a little bit. I'm going to make sure to keep stirring it as we go, and make sure that we do not burn our berries, hopefully. Now that this is starting to warm up a little bit, guys, I'm going to crank my heat up a little bit more to above medium, not all the way on high. I don't want to burn my berries. Just want to make sure that I'm heating it really well. And as they start to soften, I'll mash these up more and more. Alright guys, and while our berries are heating up, make sure that you don't lose an eye on those because they will burn quickly. Make sure you're still stirring them. We're going to go ahead and measure out our sugar. A lot of recipes call for about the same amount of sugar as fruit. I honestly do not want to add that much sugar to our recipe. That would be very, very sugary. Blackberries are already very sweet as it is. So since we had about 4 cups of blackberries, I'm going to go ahead and do about 2 cups of sugar. We laid it out into a nice big roasting pan, so it's moderately thin layer across it. preheated our oven to 325. And I'm going to go ahead and stick that in the oven, not so that it cooks my sugar, but just so that it warms it up so that it's already heated before we add it to our berry mixture. So it's heating up really well, and I've mashed it more and more. And I'm going to let it keep cooking a little bit while stirring it all the time so it doesn't burn. And get some of the excess water to go ahead and steam off of it, boil off of it, while our sugar is heating up. And my husband just came home, and as he said, it smells delicious. So that's exciting. Right, and while everything else is going, I've also got 2 other burners going where I'm going ahead and sanitizing some jars and some lids for canning. Alright, and that's becoming a really nice, dark, beautiful color. It's had a good simmer, and the way that you know that it's a simmer is that when I stir it, it stops bubbling. If it's at a full boil, it's going to keep bubbling even though you're stirring it. So my sugar is nice and heated and warmed, so I'm going to go ahead and slowly add it, just like you do with a lot of things with baking. I'm going to add a little bit at a time and stir it into our liquid. Keep stirring, making sure that your sugar isn't sticking to the side, your berries aren't burning, etc. So I'm just adding it about 1/3 of a cup at a time. I'm going to stir it in, let it get heated up and mixed in there. Right, now that all our sugar is added, I turn the heat back up to medium. I didn't say it earlier, but I had reduced it to make sure that we keep that simmer. Turn it back up to a medium heat, and we're going to let this come to a nice boil. And remember to know that it's a boil. When you stir it, it will continue to bubble even though you're stirring it. And don't walk away for too long, guys. You don't want this to burn to your pans. Okay, so you've got a full boil going on. So I'm going to do this for about 10 to 15 minutes before I go ahead and start testing it for if it's gelling up enough. Alright, so now that it has been 10 minutes, we're going to do our first test. I'm just going to take a little spoonful out. A bit of everything. And bring it over and just plop it onto a plate that I have set. And then I'm going to stick this in the freezer for about 2 to 3 minutes for it to super cool and see what its consistency is. Alright, so after about 4 minutes in the freezer, we checked it, and I'd like it to be a little bit more gel-like than it is. You can see how quickly it's sliding down the plate there. So now that it's been about another 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to take another spoonful out, do the same thing, and see what it comes out like. Alright, and in the midst of all this going on, guys, make sure that you have all your canning stuff ready to go. Timing is going to be key. Alright guys, that second little test is like as perfect as I want it to be. It's nice and jelly and sticky consistency. It's going to be really, really nice. It tastes amazing, so I brought my heat all the way down to low so that it stays warm for our canning. And we're going to go ahead and start getting this into our jars. Alright, so our hot water bath is boiling really, really well. So we're going to open it up. The lid does get hot, so be careful. And remember, it's big boiling water, so open it away from yourself. It's boiling really well, which is nice. Put that off to the side. And if nobody's ever canned before, these are nice. They come with a nice wire rack. It's going to hold up on top to get ready to sink our cans down in there. I'm actually going to turn the heat a little bit lower now that it's going really well. Right, now we've moved everything over onto our towels and everything. It's not burning our countertop. We're going to do one at a time. We've got our handy dandy little tongs. I'm going to pull out one jar at a time for canning. Get one here. Remember, these have still been in nice hot water because you don't want your glass to be cracking when it's changing temperatures too fast. We've got our perfect little canning funnel and our ladle, and we're going to go ahead and ladle this in and leave a 1/4 inch of head space. If you haven't canned before, just in other words, fill it to within a 1/4 inch of the top, no higher. And then you want to use, this comes with the canning kits, otherwise use some sort of a non-metallic spatula. And you just run it along the edge to make sure that you don't have any air bubbles down in there. And then if you have to add, grab it until you put this on. If you have to add more of your jelly to it, go ahead and do that. Then we're going to get our lids, which have also been in hot water. Get it out. Get your clean paper towel. Make sure that there is absolutely nothing around the brim of your jar. Put the lid on. Grab one of your screw tops. Put that on nice and tight. And we're going to use our ladle and we'll set it on our rack. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this with the rest of my jars, and then I'll show you the next step. Good. Alright, so I'm adding the last jar here. Tried to do that as fast as we could so they were all still hot. As you notice, the way that we have them on the rack, they are not touching each other. This rack is also going to keep it up off the bottom of the pan, and that way the air can, or water can really circulate around all of these jars. And that's what's nice about this, is I can grab both sides. I'm going to lower this right down into the water. You want to make sure that you have a good 2 inches or so of water up above your cans. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on here, and we're going to give those about 10 minutes in the hot water bath. The really nice thing about jams and jellies is they have such a high sugar content in them that you can go ahead and do a hot water bath instead of a pressure cooker without having to worry about the botulism. Alright guys, so after our 10 minutes was up, went ahead and used our canning tongs and pulled all the jars out. We've got them on 2 towels on top of a wood cutting board. Whenever you pull them out, you don't want to put them directly onto countertop or anything that's going to have radiate cold from it, because then you can possibly crack your jars, and you want to avoid that. As we're pulling out, we give them a little tip and made sure there wasn't a pool of water trapped on top of your lids. And now all we have to do is sit and wait, and from across the house you'll hear a little pop, pop, pops, and that's going to be as the pressure is releasing. These are going to go ahead and seal themselves. The tops are going to drop in, and then they'll be good to go, and you can remove your rings and store them. Oh, did you hear that little pop? That was one already going off. Not taking long with these. Alright guys, so these all sealed up really, really quick, really nicely. If you didn't hear your pops while you're doing other things, easy way to tell is push on the center of your lid. If it doesn't go anywhere, it's sealed. If it still has mobility to it, then it's not sealed yet. So that is awesome that those are done, guys. Just little words of encouragement. One, if you're not growing your own food, if you come across one of those really nice sales of a bunch of frozen fruit, pick it up, can it into some nice jellies. You can can very easily with frozen fruit. And also, if you guys don't have time to do this stuff between the kids, your job, the garden, summertime is very, very busy, fruits tend to freeze pretty easily, especially things like that Blackberry. So do a little research, find out how your fruits freeze, put them in the freezer. When those winter months come along, where it's a little bit slower, you're spending a lot more time inside, pull them out of the freezer and go ahead and do some canning. Great Christmas gifts and all that good stuff. And otherwise, I am so incredibly excited that we've done this. I'm really looking forward to when these cool down a little bit more. Definitely going to open one of these guys up for the morning time, have a little bit on some toast, maybe some peanut butter jellies, maybe some jelly rolls. We'll see what we'll do with it. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me on this, guys. I hope that you get the chance to make some of your own jam. We will see you on the next one. I love you all. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless. Bye-bye. One more quick note, guys, especially for you off-gridders out there, you homesteaders, and those of you who just want to be a little bit more environmentally friendly. All that massive amount of water that you just canned in, all those massive amount of waters that you sanitized your jars and your lids in, that is perfectly clean, usable water. Go ahead. Stick it in something, in some sort of a container, or go dump it in your washing machine, flush your toilet with it, water your house plants. Go ahead and reuse that water, guys. It'll save a lot. Alright, bye.